Thank you. Can hear me okay? What an introduction. It is such an honour to be able to come here and share with you. This is actually my first visit. And in actual fact, I couldn't think of a better way to come and have a first visit, to come to a church who wants to make a difference in the area of poverty. You want to see something changed in your city. So I'm just so honoured to be here. And a church who has chosen to partner with us as Christians Against Poverty. I actually, in words, can't actually express how much we value your partnership. To the point we are in head office down in Newcastle in New South Wales. We will be on our knees praying for your church. We value you and are very honoured to have you as our partners. Who am I, you might say? You know, I'm come from CAP. I've been told I'm the regional manager, which means I'm looking after your church and making sure you know what is going on in Christians Against Poverty, what is God doing in this amazing ministry here in Darwin, but right across Australia. I was a mum who was just looking to get back into work in Newcastle. I'd been out of work for a little while with my kids. And I stepped into the CAP office, and to be honest, little did I know what I was getting myself into. Little did I know how my heart would be melted, how my heart would be open to know what is going on here in Australia. And just to be meeting just amazing people, and you are amongst this, people who are spending themselves on the poor. And sometimes it's a bit of a hard concept to get our heads around. You know, our lives might be going well, but it is an amazing concept. And I would just want to share a little bit about our heart first to CAP, so you understand as we come to your church, as we partner with your church, what our heart is. And it's amazing because I get to talk about Jesus. You know, I get to come up here and we've talked and spoken about Jesus. We've praised him this morning. And that's the heart of CAP. It's Jesus. I'll talk a little bit as well as how our heart is CAP, how that works with your church as you partner with us. And then really the main thing today is I want to express how much Annette needs your help, and I will get her to stand up in a little while. And by doing that, I just want to unpack. So some of you may be new to the church, you may have just stepped in for the first time, as Megan was saying. I want you to actually be able to visualise what a CAP debt centre is and what CAP money is. And I will give you a little bit of a challenge at the end to take that on yourselves. But first, I want to set the scene. And I want you to engage with this. And if you want to close your eyes, not to go to sleep, but if you want to close your eyes to help you picture this, if you want to look over somewhere else, that's absolutely fine. But I want to give you a picture and a taste of something. You are a parent of 2 children struggling to pay your bills. You and your partner don't spend recklessly. You don't live lavishly. You simply work hard and find that at times it's hard to make ends meet. When it's hard to make ends meet, when you choose to feed your children, or shall I pay my bills, you go, I'm going to feed my kids. But as the bills mount, you slowly begin to retreat from family and friends. Shame overwhelms you and you begin to hate yourself for not being able to provide. Every phone call, every knock on the door, every visit to the letterbox is marked by a growing anxiety. More debt, more repayments, they're there knocking on your door. And one day it's too much because you find that the bills you have doesn't match the money that's coming in. You realise you're disconnecting from your kids. You realise you're disconnecting from your partner and your marriage is breaking down. Now, I know, because I've heard about you guys, that you already get this. You already realise that this is actually a devastating reality for people right across Australia, right across Darwin. And Annette hears this. You know, already in the centre, they had a client turn up who had 5 kids, about to lose their home. And this person actually technically, from CAP terms, didn't become a client. However, your church stepped in there and made a difference. Your church stepped in straight away to help in a very unusual situation. And that person got to have their home. They got to save their home. Just by connection. And this is what CAP is about. It's about relationship and it's about connection. But why should we have this connection? You know, we can go day in, day out and just live our lives and have a bit of, oh, I feel sorry. But this is where we come back to Jesus. CAP, the heart of CAP is about Jesus and being a follower of him. Why should we care? Because Jesus did. And as we look to the Bible, Isaiah, Jeremiah and Amos, right through there is a call to us, his church, to have a care for the vulnerable. And who did they say the vulnerable is back then? The widow, the orphan, the immigrant and the poor. And those people are still with us today. May look slightly different, but they are still with us today. And a passage that we go back to is Isaiah 58. And I just want to share, this is from the Message, and it's verses 6 and 7. And God is basically saying through Isaiah, this is the kind of fast day I'm after. To break chains of injustice, get rid of exploitation in the workforce, free the oppressed, cancel debts. What I'm interested in seeing in you is doing this, is sharing your food with the hungry, inviting the homeless and the poor into your home, putting the clothes on the ill-clad, and being available to your own families. And I love that last line. Again, Isaiah didn't hold back. God doesn't hold back in showing us what he wants. He wants us to have that fasting day in this passage. And they were coming and humbling themselves before going, saying, I'm a sinner and I need your mercy, Father. And we're exactly the same today. That group of people are still with us and we're still the same. We need his mercy and his grace. And he challenges me. I read this passage and I'm challenged. If I'm not actually doing this stuff, it's saying to me, I've got to disconnect with God's heart. And I so don't want to have a disconnect with God's heart. It's not the place that I want to be. Because when I look to Jesus, what I see is he reveals his heart for the poor. So we look to the Bible, but his life demonstrated his love for the poor. He came into a broken world and believed the poor were worthwhile listening to. As others, and I've got many friends who feel the poor get what they deserved. But he stopped and he listened to their stories. And he meant stopping for that one. Our balloons have gone down a bit today. But I was saying to that, that's all right, because we've got one balloon just standing tall. And Jesus is saying that one balloon, that one person is worth going after. And that is what doing CAP is about. And he came with a very specific mandate. Chapter 4 in Luke says to bring good news to the poor, to proclaim freedom for his prisoners, and to set captives free. And that is what CAP is about. Through his life, through his death, and through his resurrection. I know you know this, but Jesus changes everything. And that's what we want to hold on to as we go out and do this work with CAP. He gave us a model, and that model hasn't changed. When I spoke about Isaiah, it's exactly the same today. He is calling his church and his people to follow him and do the things that he did, to have a heart like that. And that's why I stand here today, because I'm invested in this. But that's the place that we come from in CAP, is a response to Jesus' heart for the poor. And what does it actually look like here in Australia? Again, we can look around, and sometimes it actually really is obvious when people are poor. It might be the way a child turns up to school. It might be the way that a home looks. But often it is hidden. And the reality is that actually 2.9 million Australians live below the poverty line. You know, visitors to this country might not see that, but that's actually 1 in 8 people in Australia who are struggling. I looked up a fact from the Northern Territory Food Bank, and this was really interesting. So this is not the church saying this is the media telling us that hunger is actually a hidden social problem here in our country. And many victims suffer in silence. They report that 1 in 6 kids here in the Northern Territory don't have breakfast. They report this year there was an increase by 13% of people in the population wanting more food relief. And that was actually the highest in Australia. And they're reporting it's not just the traditional people coming and asking for help with food. They're seeing the aged, the single parents, the working poor. And I just go, that's Isaiah. That's what he's telling us. These people are still with us today. And we have the media going on about financial stress. It's a real term that's sort of thrown around there at the moment. But financial stress does not convey the shame that goes in this area, the guilt, the desperation. This is where people are at. But as I said before, our Father God calls us to care, to look to Jesus. And what he's saying to us, what can I do, Jesus? How can I help in this area? And as we recognise what poverty looks like on our doorstep, I get excited because I'm part of something and you're part of something. There is a solution to poverty and its causes. And you and me and Christians Against Poverty have already started this. Through other things that you are doing in the church, we are actually part of the solution. And in CAP, we get very excited and are passionate about 4 things. The first is serving the poor. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, which is the actual tools, the CAP Debt Centre, the CAP money courses that you've been running. We get to see the lost saved. In what we do, we get to go out and pray and love and ask people, do they want Jesus in their life? We do this with a church. So we do that with you, C3 Darwin. We do that across Australia with a network of over hundreds and hundreds of churches who are doing a lot of our services. We partner with them as well. And we're here, and as Megan was saying, we're here to equip you. You know, CAP is not here to come and take over your church. It is genuinely to partner with you and to help you with the vision that you have for your community. We want to enable that to happen, for you to be able to reach out for the poor. So what I was saying, you might have never heard of CAP. You might go, what on earth is a CAP money course? Just very quickly, a CAP money course is a course that just gives people tools to manage their money. It's just a simple process, very easy to run. But the main thing is that that budget becomes sustainable. It's something you can go back to. And my husband and I, we started this probably 15 years ago, very early on when CAP was started. My last course that I got to run, people's lives are changed. And I had 6 young women who were in their 20s, just starting out in work. And I got excited. I thought, this is a new generation of people who are going to know how to manage their money. We don't want them getting into unmanageable. That's not the life that God has called for us. So that's the exciting thing, something very simple, yet easy to run. And you guys, over the last year, you've run a few courses and you joined 5 other 100 courses that have run this year. Over Australia, we have reached 2,800 people to give them a challenge about what is going on in your life, in your money. Hard thing to talk about in society still, but we want to challenge that. And then we come to the amazing thing, the CAP Debt Centre. But what is a CAP Debt Centre? We can say that thing over and over again, but what does it actually mean? You are currently helping people who are in unmanageable debt. They have got to that point that they've realised they've got no hope and they don't know what to do. And when someone is very brave, I was talking to one of the support workers the other night, and she just said, gosh, it's brave for people to ask for help. And it really is. And we can't underestimate how much courage it takes to pick up the phone. But when they do that in this region, through our office in Newcastle, they get connected with Annette. And Annette starts a journey with them. She gets to visit them in their home. Annette is following the model of Jesus. She's going into their home. She's meeting them where they're at. She is praying for them. She is listening to the story that they want to tell. And then she's really practical. She gets in there and like literally sometimes it's gathering up paper after paper, phoning places to find out what their situation is actually like. But she's meeting them where they're at, the vulnerable, the poor. She's doing what Jesus does. And as that information comes into head office and as that client says, yes, that solution I want to be a part of, I want to commit to that, we can take away the threatening letters, that knocks on the door. We can have communication to come to us in Newcastle and we can negotiate on their behalf. We can step in and do something real. We're a professional organisation for a really, really reason because it gives us credit when we're talking to people. This year we've seen over $1 million of debt reduced and that is normal. And at no point do we pay that. That is a client's commitment. A client really needs to be committed because this may take, to be debt-free, 3 to 5 years. It can be a long journey. But what is amazing about this journey, as us in Newcastle help and casework with the individual, you in the church don't go away. Our call is to you. You've got 3 to 5 years to draw alongside this person and to help them. Really practically, to help them with the things that we may see they need doing, but also spiritually, to open up your door, to welcome them, make them feel like they belong. We have a big thing in CAP about belonging and believing and becoming, and that's what a church does. That's what we're here for. And we really encourage you and we really say thank you so much for doing that with the people that come through your door and the people that Annette meets. We really believe that you are the hands and feet of Jesus and that the CAP Debt Centre is a demonstration of what is in Isaiah. It's putting it into practice. And what's the result of this? So far this year, and there will be more, we've had 295 people go debt-free. That's this year. That is families, children, things making a difference in their lives. And since we started, CAP Australia started 17 years ago, we've had 2,000. This year we got to celebrate 2,600 people go debt-free. You know, we are making an impact across Australia. We're managing over $10 million of debt across over 470 families. That is making a difference. But what is making me really excited is that's not all. We don't just get to celebrate financial freedom. John chapter 10 says, I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. Not just a little bit, have it to the full. And since CAP Australia started, we have celebrated over 1,500 people coming to know and follow Jesus as their saviour. Hundreds of families are actually experiencing that verse of living life to the full and having hope for the future. And Annette, I'm going to get you to stand up again, and you've got a white T-shirt. Are you still in here? Yes, I can see you. You can't hide. Annette is doing an amazing job in leading you guys and in your debt centre. And a momentum is being built. Word is getting out to your community that this debt centre is here to help. People are calling in your area. People are wanting to be connected to something that will make a difference to them in their lives. However, God wants more, and I know he wants more, and I know that you want more. And simply by playing a part in this, you can see lives changed. But firstly, I just want to quickly show one client's story. A story of how this actually all comes together and the result that it can have. This is Josh and Corinne's story.
Corinne and myself had been married for a few years and we were both working full-time. Both had good paying jobs, didn't have a real need for a budget. I thought budgets were just for people that were struggling financially. Then all of a sudden we became pregnant, which was really exciting and happy. But then we got the news that I was going to lose my job, which happened pretty suddenly. And as we started to slip down that slippery slope of debt, it became harder and harder to get out of that and get back on top. Myself and Corinne would receive phone calls from our creditors and then having to tell them, I know I owe you that money. I really want to pay you that money. I don't have that money.
I remember going grocery shopping and, card declined, and I had to try and decide what was most important in my basket. Okay, do I get the nappies or do I get milk?
It was a constant daily reminder that you were failing.
My mum and dad were always really good at budgeting, and I probably felt a little bit embarrassed that I hadn't learnt anything from them. There was no end in sight of paying these credit cards off before we came to see CAP.
Called CAP, explained our situation, they prayed with me, made me feel like there was hope. When we initially got the budget back from CAP, that was a massive weight that I felt was lifted off my shoulders.
It was, instead of us trying to claw our way out, it was more them giving us a plan, and that felt really peaceful.
Within a few weeks, we noticed that things started to change very quickly. Just seeing those numbers go down of what we owed was really exciting and encouraging to keep going. I phoned CAP to let them know that I had done my tax return, and he said, Josh, if you give us $2,500, you won't have any debt left. So I said, all right, can I send it through now? So he said, look, what we'll do, send it all through, we'll pay all the debts off, and then whatever you got left back, we can transfer that back to you. And a couple of days later, he sent me an email and a phone call to say, Josh, you're all debt free, you and Corinne, you've done it, you've paid it all off. That all happened just before Christmas, and that was an amazing Christmas for us. Instead of constantly having the debt to talk about, we had exciting plans to talk about, we had hope to talk about, we had future that we could start to really look forward to. If you can give anything, even if it's something small, you're releasing them from that burden of feeling that they can't provide for their family. That's what you're helping. Without your support, CAP can't keep doing what they're doing, and that would be a real shame, because without them, my family wouldn't have the life that we have today.
They do. It's talking about people being brave. It's brave to share your story where you've hit rock bottom. It's a brave thing to do, and I get touched by like the many stories that we hear are pinned up around a place and constantly reminded the things that people are going through. But as Josh and Corinne's stories show, as we're leading up to Christmas, there's more people who are like that in that situation. And I'm asking you to think about, what can I do to help them? Annette needs your help. As we go into 2018, she needs you beside her. Whatever skill or resource you have, I'm sure she can use. I think we can be quite creative. So this is a time where I said I'd give you a little bit of a challenge. And there's lots and lots of ways that you can be involved. There's lots of ways that you can actually make an impact on people like Josh and Corinne, people like the client that I mentioned before, the people that will be calling that number to say, and being very brave and very courageous, saying, I need help. The first thing is, there's probably a lot of you who don't know CAP, that you maybe just joined the church and going, where does it actually even come from? You may have noticed I've got a slightly English accent, and actually England is where the founder is. John Kirkby founded CAP many years ago out of his own personal struggle, out of the crippling debt that he found himself in. But he found Jesus, and then Jesus actually used him and gave him skills financially, which I think is kind of funny in some ways, to go out and reach other people. And this is his story. It's nevertheless, it's his personal testimony of how CAP has come about. And if you want to know more, we've got free copies at the back. Come and see me and you can take one. I just highly recommend it to get a taste and a see of the heart of CAP through this individual. Nextly, it's you. I'm talking to you. Annette, as I said, needs you, and she needs you really practically. That picture, we sort of got a very small glimpse of a lady called Angela, and the centre is actually in Brisbane. Angela would normally have someone sitting with her, and the clip didn't show that. But Annette needs people to go out with her. There's a general thing that it's good to have two people and go out and do work together. The person that goes out with Annette is someone who just sits there. You might pray, you might look. Annette will have her list of things that she goes through. She needs more people to do this. People who are available during the day and some people who might be available during the evening. She needs you to make connections with these clients as they come in. Look, it might be as simple as a phone call, sending a birthday card, making a cake, going having a coffee. I'm not going to limit what you can do and what you're good at. But she needs to know, and this is something, again, that in the office we hear stories, and one particular story I just want to share with you was of a church. One client was very early on in their journey with CAP. They suddenly got to the point, because we had to come in late with helping them, that they were going to be evicted from the house. They're literally, in 2 hours' time, the bailiffs were coming to put new locks on. Anything that was in the house was gone. They could not claim it back. That person called CAP and said, what do I do? What did we do? We called the church and said, we've just heard from this person. Within that 2 hours, they got everything out of that house. Now, it may have been still on the front lawn, which is all right. But that's what I see. I see people ready on the edge of their seat, some of them actually standing to go, and that's my call to you. Is there something you can do to be ready and practical to meet these people's needs? You might have a heart for prayer and your time can be on your knees. We need prayer constantly. We need to be lifting up, as we did this morning, the things that are going on in people's lives and the real specifics of the needs that are here and now. We do this every Wednesday at CAP. As the prayer request comes in, we pray for your clients. We pray for what's going on in your church. Something really simple. Megan talked about something that's in your hand. Well, most of us hold a mobile phone. One thing I'd really suggest to you is actually put the CAP helpline number in your phone. It's 1300 227 000, and it's on some information at the back. You know, there's nothing worse than going, oh, CAP's got this number and I'll find it out for you. Have it in your phone. It's a really easy thing to do, to say, look, call this number. Check out if they can actually help you. The other side of things I talked about was CAP money courses. My first challenge on this is do it. If you haven't done it already, you might think you're okay with your money, and you may be okay with your money, but there's nothing worse, because the second challenge in this is to recommend it to someone else. So go on the course, find out what it's about, and then you can say to people, this is actually what a CAP money course is about. Try it, give it a go. And you may be so excited by CAP money, as I was when I started to do it, you might want to actually become a CAP money coach. It is an amazing thing to stand in those sessions and see people's eyes light up as they realise they can do something different in their lives and be practical. The thing I'm saying is we can be all promoters of CAP and we all can do something. God uses us together with all our different skills and abilities, time and money, and to change lives to Josh and Corinne's. And just finally, I firstly want to say thank you to those of you who financially support CAP Australia. This service is a free service. We have support from our churches and people who run services, but we say we are part of this and we will raise funds to make sure this service stays for free. And we have a bold vision that we want anyone across Australia who needs something and needs help for that to remain free. And many of you support us in what you call life changers. And we are so thankful to you who support us through a regular donation. And maybe that's what God has on your heart. We're talking about them being blessed with money. Maybe that's what God is stirring in your heart today. And the thing is, we want to be on the front of social change. We want people coming and saying to us, you can help, and I'm going to turn to you, church, for help. And you can do that. We don't receive government funding because we want to remain praying and sharing the gospel with people. We will not compromise on that, and you can be a part of that. So there's many ways that you can be involved today. Ask God. That's all I'm asking. What is God placing on your heart that you can be involved? God's just getting started. 4 years is nothing. And it's amazing to see what he's done. And I really am so encouraged. As I've got the privilege to be here with you this morning, I'm so encouraged by your heart, your passion and your vision to touch people. So I really hope that you'll come and speak with me. Come and speak with Annette. Come and meet her because she is your person. We celebrate her in our office, and you can celebrate and be with her and make a change. Thank you for making me feel welcome. And our name is Christians Against Poverty, and I truly believe we are together Christians Against Poverty. I thank you, and I'll pass back to Lars.
Awesome. Let's put our hands together for Nadine. Thank you. And CAP does an incredible work. And as Nadine said, we've been supporters of CAP here at C3 Darwin for 4 years. And as a church, we support financially the work of CAP across Australia. And one of the things that Nadine just mentioned then is so important is that so often when organisations like this begin to receive funding from the government, and the government's happy to fund people getting out of debt, but then all these rules and regulations come around you and constraints as to what you can say and what you can't say, and you've got to do it a certain way. And CAP has refused to accept those sorts of constraints. And so CAP is fully funded by the church. And so I'm proud to say that we are, as a church, supporting the work of CAP and will continue to do so. And so because it gives us the opportunity, literally, to go into people's homes, people who would not come to church but are desperate. And behind it, they've got these problems, but behind it, really, they need Jesus. And he can help untangle them. And there's principles in the Word of God about how to manage your money, and the CAP Money course will go through that and help you build your finances and things like that. But at the end of the day, what they need most is Jesus, and for him to do that work of healing and forgiveness in their hearts, and then they can build their life upon that. And so we have the opportunity to literally get asked into people's homes all over this city who may not necessarily come to church, and we'll continue to see great stories of people being reached